In this video, we'll take a look at the analytical model. The learning content, connections, analytical views, boundary conditions, the analytical model appearance, and applying loads. Before we look at the analytical model, we first have to look at our connections. Looking at this example here, the beam extends to the face of this horizontal beam. If we want to extend inside the beam, first of all, I select the beam I wish to change. And on the Modify tab, I select Change Reference. I can click on a new face, and Revit will change the end of that existing beam. If I want to connect two beams together, I first of all need to select the beam or columns. On the Structures tab, Connections Group, I'm first of all going to have a look at the connection settings by clicking this small arrow. On the left hand side we can see a list of all the available connections, and on the right hand side we can see all the connections which have been loaded. I'm going to add all the connections and click OK. With the two beams connected, I can now click the Connections button on the Structures tab. This will create a connection between the two. However, I will want to change the type of connection in the type selector. For this example, I'm going to select Clip Angle. We are currently in a medium level of detail. If I go to my visual tools at the bottom of the view and change to a fine level of detail, I will now be able to see the geometry for the connection. Next, we are going to create a new 3D view for the analytical model. I'm currently inside the default 3D view. And on the view cube, I'm going to right click and select Save View. I'm simply going to call this 3D Analytical. We are now inside a new 3D view. The first thing I'm going to do is hide all the visible elements. I'm just going to simply do this by selecting everything and then hiding everything by category. Now that we've hidden the model elements, if we go down to our visual tools at the bottom of our view, you should have an icon to show the analytical model. If we left click on there, we now have a new 3D view in which we can see the analytical model. The analytical model is automatically created as you model the structural components of the project. Next, we're going to add some boundary conditions to this model. On the Analyze tab, Analytical Model Group, we have a tool for our boundary conditions. We have three types of boundary conditions we can use. We have point, line, and area. We can also choose the state for these. First of all, I'm going to select point. I'm going to have the state set to fixed. On the base of a structural column, I'm going to left click, and that's going to create a new boundary condition. Next, I will choose line, and for the state I'm going to select pinned. I'm then going to click on the base of this wall. Lastly, I'm going to select area. I'm going to select the lower floor slab and click to place. Let's take a look at the analytical model in a bit more detail. I'm just going to zoom in on a portion of the project. We can see our analytical columns, analytical beams, and the analytical floors. First of all, I'm going to select one of the analytical beams, and in the properties window I can check the releases member forces. Also, looking at the beams and columns, we can see that they're colour coded. At present, the ends are marked in red and the starts are marked in green. We can control this through the object styles of the project. In object styles, if we go to the tab for the analytical model, we can control the appearance of the beams, braces, columns, etc. and also the colours for the end and starts of the segments. Now we're ready to have a look at loads before we export the model into another application. On the Analyze tab, Analytical Model Group, we can access our load cases and load combinations. On our load cases, we can create load cases such as for dead, live, and snow. Simply click the Add button, designate a name, case number, nature and category as required. We can access load combinations through the Load Combinations button, or being inside the structural settings already, we can click on the Load Combinations tab. Should we wish to combine loads, again we can click the Add button, give the combination a name, and in the formula box we can click the Add button and we can choose the case or combination we wish to add. We can also change the factor required as needed. To place loads on the analytical model, click the Loads button. On the Modify tab, we can choose the type of load to place. We have point, line, and area. We can freely place those, or we can host these. Starting with a hosted point load, I can check the load case and the forces. And moving my mouse cursor over the top of a column, I can left click on the point and place a load. Using hosted line loads, again I can check the properties, and zooming in on a beam I can left click and place the loads. Lastly, I can select hosted area loads, again checking the properties, and this time I'm going to click on the analytical floor and place the load on the analytical floor.